So let's enjoy some Sacramento baseball, shall we?
You are Locked On A's, your daily Oakland A's podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, A's fans, and welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast we talk about your Oakland A's in this very weird season. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I'm also the host of Locked On MLB and have been part of the Locked On Podcast Network for the last 6 years. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right booking will make you a fan of any city, even Anaheim. So go check out Booking.com on the app or online. And you can follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter or whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. As you can tell, I'm at Ballpark Drive here in Sacramento, California. Behind me is Sutter Health Park. I forgot the name of it for a second. It's right over my shoulder here. It is a afternoon day in July. It's a 1 o'clock start here in Sacramento. The Sacramento River Cats are going to be playing the Albuquerque Isotopes, a team named after a Simpsons minor league team. That's true. You can look it up. Now, I'm here for a couple reasons. First of all, I never say no to a baseball game. But secondly, I wanted to check out the stadium. I wanted to see it for myself. I've talked a lot about the potential move to Las Vegas, and I've made it very clear my opinion. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. It doesn't make sense, and I've talked long and hard about that. But then there's the move to Sacramento. So, we're here at the ballpark here. This is a minor league ballpark for a AAA team. This used to be the AAA team of the A's. Then it became the AAA team for the Giants. Whether or not the Giants have a minor league team in San Jose or Sacramento, it always turned out to be a pain in the butt for the A's because they wind up playing in cities where they want to be a part of. Well, as we know, the plan, and I use that word very, very loosely in this case, the plan is to have the A's play in Sutter Health Park for the 2025, 2026, and probably the 2027, and maybe the 2028, and I'm guessing 2029, and while we're at the 2030 season. So I want to get a sense of a couple of things. Not only get a sense of the ballpark, but also get a sense of what it's like watching a game here in the afternoon, in the summer sun, and if it's at all enjoyable. All right, I'm going to try to get this in as quickly as I can, and I'll explain why later. I'm going to be positive first. My first segment I'm going to be positive because there's a lot of really great things to say about this ballpark. It's a great park, as you can see. You got a great sloping hill here where kids can play, and there's picnics. Like all minor league stadiums, the proximity to the game is fantastic. That's right there. You got the first base line heading into right field. You will have noticed that there was a lot of tech issues with that, some video issues, some videos starting and stopping. It felt a little weird. Do you know why? I'll tell you why when we come back, but I'll also tell you that my trip to Sacramento, while fun and while enlightening, shows that the A's situation is even worse than we thought. This episode of Locked On A's is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. I went on a fantastic baseball trip earlier this year. Went to Buffalo, beautiful city, by the way, and I saw a Bison's game. Went over to Syracuse, saw a Syracuse Mets game, and drove all the way to Cooperstown and spent 2 magical days at the Baseball Hall of Fame. And everywhere I went, I got my place to stay at Booking.com. A beautiful downtown hotel in the lovely downtown of Buffalo, a nice, safe hotel nearby the campus of Syracuse University, and a fabulous inn, walking distance from the lake and the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. No matter where you're staying or how you want to stay, Booking.com has you covered. Whether you want to have a city hotel or a charming inn, Booking.com will put you in the place that will be so glorious, you may even love your rival team's city. So make your reservations at Booking.com or on the Booking.com app. Booking.com, it's more like Booking.yeah. Now, you all know I love my sports. I love sports so much, and I can't get enough of it. But now you're not having the same amount of sports that we had earlier in the summer. We had the hockey playoffs, the basketball playoffs, and I guess we're going to have the Olympics starting up soon, but sports aren't sports in the way I like them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app, dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Where is your hub for getting your sports news, your sports takes, everything you need to start your sports day? Can I recommend that you go to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you to bring you the biggest sports stories. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. So, yeah, I'm back in the studio. I wanted to do a whole show in Sacramento. But let me give you my reports of the River Cats game. Let's try to be positive first, okay? It's a lovely stadium. It's a terrific stadium. It's a terrific minor league ballpark. And it's situated on enough land that you could imagine if the A's decide to stay in Sacramento, well, you could expand the stadium a little bit. You can already see they're doing a little bit of work in left center field because the team clubhouses are in left center field and not next to the dugout, which you see the players walking back and forth to the clubhouse because it's a minor league stadium. But there's enough room to do it. In fact, I was looking around there, so there's enough room if they wanted to build an actual major league stadium next to that ballpark. There's enough room to do it there. And it's right across the bridge. It's technically in West Sacramento, but it's right across the bridge from the city and the mall that leads right to the Capitol and the beautiful bridges there. And if you situate it correctly, it could have a little bit of a PNC Park in Pittsburgh type of feel to it. There's a lovely sort of roaming hill in center field and right field where there are lots of families having picnics and kids rolling down the hill. The sight lines are great. Unlike Oakland, there's not a lot of foul territory. The right field line hugs right along by the stands. It's up-to-date amenities, lots of good food, and the fans there. Hey, Chuck and Em, are you listening? I got to meet a nice couple, Chuck and Em. They're wonderful people there, great fans. And I still believe Sacramento as a city is a better landing spot than Las Vegas. Okay. I got the positives out first. Now let's get through the obvious negative part. I chose the game, as I said in the preamble, specifically. I wanted to go in a summer afternoon game. I wanted to go to a game at 1 o'clock on a Sunday. Nice sunny day in Sacramento in the summertime. An ideal time to go to a baseball game, right? Summer in the city, July, see your team play. That was the environment I wanted to check out. I could have gone to a night game. I could have. Instead, I went to a 1 o'clock game in July. And it was hot. And the sun was beating down on the stadium. And Chuck and Em, the nice couple that I met in Sacramento, told me, well, it's going to be a lot hotter tomorrow. But it was enough hot then The sun is beating down, and I realized something. As I got my seats, I went down, I sat down, and nobody was sitting in the seats. Everyone was in the concourse. I mean, I swear, in the seats, there must have been 3 people sitting there. I walked right behind home plate. Nobody stopped me. And you saw there was a decent-sized crowd, but they were all huddled under the concourse. And as the game went on, and it was a decent game between the Sacramento River Cats and the Albuquerque Isotopes, it was clear that sitting in the sun was not going to be an option. I went down to sit in the seats because I figured when I do some of my recordings and I'm at a live ballpark, I don't like to do it next to me. I don't like to do it in a crowd because I'm loud and I don't want to be a pain in the butt to people. So I try to find an empty part of the stadium. There was no problem finding empty seats because no one wanted to sit close to the field. And so those clips I showed you at the beginning where I stopped and start and stopped and start, and then I went out to the hill area and stopped and start. Do you know why I was stopping and starting? Do you know why I couldn't record at the stadium? Oh, I'll tell you why. Every time I turned the camera on, the video part of my phone, and I held it up either with my selfie stick or with my arm, do you know what happened? The video shut down, and a warning popped up on my screen that says, please turn off camera while phone is overheating. And I could not keep the camera on for more than a few seconds because it was too hot. It was too hot to shoot video. It was too hot to keep the camera on. And I would shut the camera off for a full hour. And I figured, okay, it's been off for an hour. Turned it back on. Tried it up. Still too hot. It was too hot to shoot video. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me be even more frank about this. I went over to the hill area, the lovely hill, rolling hill, and there was a couple of trees there. All the people were huddled underneath the shade of the tree. Nobody was sitting where there was no shade. But I also took a look around and I saw there was a decent number of people there, and there was a tiny little overhang. And any place in the stadium where there was shade, it was pretty well populated. The next row, the first row where the sun hit, totally empty. And I talked to an usher named Chris about this, and he giggled and he said, yeah, well, that's what happens here in Sacramento. And he said, we have the shade shifters. He called them the shade shifters, which I thought was kind of clever. Then when the shade is shifting, that's where the fans go. But most of the stadium, from probably the third or fourth row right to field level, empty, save for a couple of people. And I'm looking around going, oh my, and I can't get over what I'm looking at, because there were a lot of people sort of huddled in where the shade was. Chris, the usher, said, well, maybe what they should do is, where they have the cables holding up the nets around home plate and down the first and third base line. He said maybe they should have a giant awning covering that. Maybe. By the way, it was Dinger's birthday. If you don't know who Dinger is and why would you know? But Dinger is the mascot of the Sacramento River Cats, and it was his birthday. Happy birthday, Dinger. And actually, I assume it's to him. I don't know. I you know what? It was Dinger's birthday. I don't want to assume gender on Dinger. But there was one of the reasons I say that, by the way, I'm not just trying to be woke. A friend of mine named Megan used to be a mascot of a minor league team in Pennsylvania. And Megan always cracked up when people were saying, like, oh, put your arm around him, when she was the mascot, and going like, why do they assume I'm a dude? I'm an animal. Anyway, back away from Dinger's gender. But they had a bunch of other minor league mascots who were there who would show up in between innings. And I'm just assuming the poor schmucks, and maybe Megan was in there. I don't know. Megan, let me know if you were there. I know she listens to the podcast. I'm assuming they all lost 45 pounds of sweat that day. That might probably be a good weight loss to go be a mascot in Sacramento. But all these mascots would be dancing on top of the dugout, and they're going like, "Oh my God, yeah! Please tell me there's a keg of Powerade just beyond the dugout." But I want to tell you this quick little anecdote, and then we're going to break down why I think the situation is worse than we thought. At one point around the 6th or 7th inning, when I just couldn't turn my camera on, and I said, well, to hell with it. I'm not going to just sit here and be frustrated. I think God is telling me something at this point. So I'm just going to enjoy the ball game. So I went down to where my seats technically were, and I sat there, and I started watching the game. And my phone was shut off because it was overheating, and that's where my ticket was. And I saw an usher coming up to me, and I'm looking around in a totally empty section, and I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? Are you really going to check my ticket? I was about to be combative. So are you really going to check my ticket if I'm sitting in the right place when there's nobody else sitting here? But that's not what was happening. The usher came up to me and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And he said, okay, you're not suffering from heat stroke? I said, no. And I said, you have something to drink? And I did. I had it isn't 7-Up or Sprite. It's something, Starry. Is that the name of the new lemon lime drink? Anyway, I had a Starry with me. And I said, yeah, I got a drink here. He said, okay, just be careful. And he walked back to the shade. Now think about that for a second. I sat in my seat. An usher came to check on me. It was someone sitting in their seat. This is not a drill. Someone check on him. That's the day in Sacramento in a nutshell. Again, lovely ballpark, nice people, Chuck and M, how you doing? But there's something about my experience there, and just that moment when I couldn't turn my camera on and the usher was worried about my well-being, that made me realize, oh, wow, we're about to have a disaster that's worse than we thought. And I got news for you. I thought it was going to be pretty bad to begin with. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. eBay Motors. Let's ride. Let's talk a little bit to our friends over at Prize Picks. You know what Prize Picks is. Prize Picks is America's number one daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you versus the numbers. All you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. Get on the daily action with your friends and become part of the Prize Picks community today. You could go turn your money into 100 times your initial bet on Prize Picks. You can make 4 correct picks and turn $10 into $1,000. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. In the end, it's really that easy. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has begun the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channel app. I want you to imagine this. The A's are playing in Sacramento. For the first few months, there's a novelty to it. It's interesting to have Major League Baseball in Sacramento. Some A's fans take the couple-hour drive to go up to see them. Sacramento fans say, hey, we got a Major League team here. And there's a little bit of a curiosity to it. And then the team isn't very good. And then they don't give you much reason to go there. Plus, the River Cats are also still playing there. They're a Giants affiliate. There are more Giant fans in Sacramento anyway. And the prices are much cheaper for a minor league game than a major league game. And the summer hits, and it's really blazing hot. And you're saying, how am I going to go take my family to an expensive Major League Baseball game in the blazing sun? You think it's embarrassing that the Oakland Coliseum's empty, a Major League ballpark, albeit one that's crumbling? Try when it's a minor league ballpark and a 10,000-seat stadium, and that's empty. The A's are going to have to play day games. You can't just do the whole, well, we're going to play them at night. We're going to play most of the games at night. You might play most of the games at night. That's true. But you have to play a certain number of day games. Do you know why? Well, let me explain a couple of things to you. There are things called getaway days. It's the reason why the A's almost always, like on this Wednesday, they're playing a 12:30 game. That usually the end of a series is going to be a day game in Oakland because a lot of the teams are getting away. And the Oakland Coliseum is right across the highway from the Oakland airport, and these teams want to get the hay out of there. Sometimes they're flying back to the East Coast. And so it's a little more convenient to start flying back in the day as opposed to the game ending at 10:30 at night West Coast time. Also, if you have teams from the East Coast playing here in California, they don't want to lose all that TV revenue. So they would rather have at least a couple of games start in the day. If you're playing the Mets, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Phillies, it's a bunch of teams on the East Coast. If you have a game starting at 1 o'clock here, that's 4 o'clock there. They can at least catch the end of the game when they get home from work. It's more, part of the scheduling strategy. So, yeah, you're going to play a fair number of games in July, outdoors, in the sun. Imagine taking a family of 3 and putting them in that microwave and say, okay, let's sit and do it. It's easier to schedule games around the nighttime when you're a AAA team. Do you know why? Because first of all, they play like 5-game series there. And also the travel around for AAA teams is not as intense. It's not quite the same as it was Pacific Coast League, but you're probably not playing the great distances. You're not doing a game starting in Oakland and having to be in New York the next day. You're going to have to play some day games. You are. It's bloody hot. And it's going to happen a bunch of times. And when the novelty of the A's being a major league team in Sacramento wears off, there will be no reason to go to the game. Do you know why? The team will probably be bad. Look, we're all having fun with this good month of July that the A's are having. We all had fun in late April, early May when the A's climbed back to 500. But we all know this team is going to struggle to avoid 90 losses. Why would it be different next year? Are they going to start spending money? Are they going to sign big free agents? What free agent is going to say, hey, let's go to the 90-something loss team, play in a minor league ballpark, and fry, and have to walk to center field to the clubhouse? Okay, probably by then, the clubhouse situation might be changed. Great. But you'll be playing in a minor league facility. We'll be renting the couch for the River Cats. What agent, save for a player who's completely out of options, would sign with the A's? The A's would have to overpay people. Is that the way the A's work? They are going to have a disastrous team next year. Or at least, if the team has a winning record, forget putting Kotze as manager of the year. You have to put him immediately in the Hall of Fame. Why would a family of 3 or 4 spend major league money to see a losing team when they could spend minor league money to go to the same park? Again, you are going to see a tiny crowd in Sacramento for anything resembling a day game. And you have to remember something, folks. Maybe those of you who don't live in California don't understand this. But unless you're a city on the ocean or near the water, in California, you're a desert city. Okay? Sacramento, you might as well be talking about Phoenix or Santa Fe. If Major League Baseball expanded into Albuquerque or Santa Fe or Austin for that matter, would they put a team there without a dome? Of course not. That's the reason why they're not playing in Las Vegas. They have to build a dome. That's why it was so insane for all those years that the Texas Rangers played with an open-air stadium. Now they have a closed stadium. Oh, boom, finally you win a World Series. That's why for the first couple of years, the Houston Colt 45s played at Colt Stadium while they were building the Astrodome, and then they made a beeline to go indoors. You can't have a major league team. Ooh, I almost said a word there. You can't have a major league team there in the desert in an open-air stadium and expect anybody to show up, especially if the product on the field stinks. And oh yeah, the whole idea of we're going to put a quality product on the field by the time you supposedly get to Las Vegas. How are they going to do that? Is it going to be all through the draft? Is it going to be all through shrewd trades? Because we all know their drafts have been spectacular lately. And I believe that the people of Las Vegas and everyone is going to take one look at this and like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We'll wait for an expansion team. We'll take the next one. They want baseball in the worst way, but not in the worst way. So yeah, there's a possibility this Vegas thing could fall apart. And then they're stuck in an outdoor desert stadium. It's worse than we thought. I was there. I witnessed it. And that was on a day, according to Chuck and M, was not as bad as it could be. Folks, I've been saying this move has been a disaster. I've been saying that this thing is been unplanned. I've been saying the Fishers are full of it. I don't believe they have the money. I don't believe the means to do it. But I didn't think it was this bad. This is going to be a disaster. It's always sunny in Sacramento. And the stadium's going to be empty. Well, on the next show, we're going to be reviewing the Houston series. We know the A's won that series. We're going to see if they can sweep them. And then we'll see what happens. Anyway, follow us at Locked On A's on Twitter, on whatever it's called now, on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Putting my money where my mouth is and heading to Sacramento and saying, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. This has been Locked On A's. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.